Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So all this week, we're looking at decks from Kaladesh Standard, and we have a super spicy one today. This is Blue-Red Energy. You recently took Dino Master to a top 8 finish in a Magic League event, so congrats to Dino Master on their finish with the deck. A quick reminder before we break down the beauty that is Blue-Red Energy. If you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So before we break down the cards, I wanted to mention real quick, on our Brewers Minute last week, we talked about a blue-green energy deck, and this deck is somewhat similar. The payoff for being the energy deck is kind of the same, but there are some big reasons to go red over green as a secondary color, and it kind of illuminates how early in a standard format, we really don't know the right way to do this. A lot of people seem to be in agreement that energy is powerful and the payoff is worth it, but how to actually get to that payoff is still up in the air at this point. So today we're going to talk about the blue-red version. If you want to see the blue-green version, go back, rewatch the Brewers Minute from Friday. Anyway, let's talk about this deck. So the deck plays some really bad cards that produce energy. We have Minister of Inquiries, a 1/2 for 1, can mill something if you pay an energy, but really, it's a 1 mana card that makes 2 energy. Thriving Turtle, pretty much the same thing. 1 mana, 2 energy. It's a 0/3, so it blocks Sylvan Advocate, blocks Grim Flayer before Delirium is turned on, so it does play some good defense. You can pay energy to pump it up, but I don't think you'll do that very often. You also have Ether Theorist, and I could imagine spending some mana on Ether Theorist. So 2 mana, 1/3, gives you 3 energy when it enters the battlefield. You can pay an energy and tap it to scry. So if you're looking to find some of your limited number of payoff cards for producing all this energy, it's probably worth spending a little bit of energy for that scry. But really, like the other cards we were talking about, it makes more energy than its mana cost, and that's kind of what you're looking for when it comes to energy cards. Then we have the reasons, or some of the reasons, there's another big one we'll get to, but some of the reasons to go red as your secondary color. Aether Torch Renegade makes 4 energy for 3 mana, so it's above the energy curve like we were talking about. You make 2 for 1 mana, you make 3 for 2 mana, you make 4 for 3 mana, so cards are producing more energy than their mana cost, which is pretty much where you want to be. It's also a secondary energy payoff. If you just make a whole bunch of energy, you can use its second ability, pay 8 energy, and do 6 to a player. So if you do this multiple times, you can just kind of burn your opponent out of the game with Aether Touch Renegade when your primary plan doesn't work out. Whirler Virtuoso, kind of the same thing. Not quite as good at making energy, only 3 energy for the 3 mana, but you can pay 3 energy, a pretty efficient cost, to get a 1/1 Thopter. So again, if you have 9, 12, 15 energy sitting around, you can just make a bunch of Thopters and win the game that way. So what's the payoff for making all this energy? The payoff is Aetherworks Marvel. 4 mana artifact, you pay 6 energy, which you should always have by the time this comes down on turn 4. Then you can cast a spell from the top 6 cards of your library without paying its mana cost. We'll talk about what those cards are in a minute, but the biggest reason to go red in an energy deck is you get to play Madcap Experiment, and Madcap Experiment is essentially Aetherworks Marvel's number 5, 6, 7, and 8. So one of the problems with these energy decks is when you don't draw Aetherworks Marvel, you don't get a incredible payoff for playing all these underpowered cards that produce a lot of energy. So you really need the Aetherworks Marvel. Madcap Experiment, make sure that you find it. Yes, it can cost you a lot of life. You got 4 Aetherworks Marvels as your only artifact in the deck, so it could cost you 10, 15, it could even kill you if you get a little bit unlucky when you cast the Madcap Experiment, but it guarantees that you're getting Aetherworks Marvel on the battlefield on turn 4. So you have 8 copies, which means you should almost always have one in your hand when you're ready to play it on turn 4. Tormenting Voice, an additional way to cycle through your deck. Of course, these are the cards that make the payoff worthwhile, so you get your Aetherworks Marvel, you have 8 huge Eldrazi Titans, 4 Ulamogs, 4 Emrakuls. These are what you're casting on turn 4, exiling your opponent's stuff, stealing your opponent's turn. Emrakul and Ulamog are very hard to beat when they come down on turn 7, turn 8, turn 10. Imagine how difficult it is to win when you're consistently casting them on turn 4. So that's the entire plan of this deck. Make the energy, get the Aetherworks Marvel on turn 4, either by itself or kind of by tutoring it out of your library with Madcap Experiment, and then you get the huge Eldrazi to close out the game. Mana base wise, Aether Hub makes energy, also untap dual land, Spire Bluff Canal, the new fast land, some basics. In the sideboard, get a bunch of removal. Harness Lightning can make energy as well, kills a creature. Incendiary Flow can kill a creature. Negates and Dispels to protect yourself, also force through your combo in Counterspell Wars. And a couple of Chandras as a backup plan in controlling matchups, can wrath the board, close out the game quickly on its own. So that is Blue-Red Energy for Kaladesh Standard. And that's been our Instant Deck for today. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.